I am calling to order this meeting of the Town of Silver City Council. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and thank you all for being here tonight. The first item on the agenda is changes to the agenda. Do any of the councilors want to make a change to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay, no change. The next item on the agenda is council comments. Councilor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. I have very few comments. A while back, I was there at one of the elementary schools, and the police officers was there, and there were some people on a bike, and they went by, and they didn't stop, and I don't know whether the police officer noticed it or not, but Chief Reynolds, can you say something about why we're not stopping bike people on stop signs? As a matter of fact, people are getting very frustrated about it. And not just downtown also.
Chief Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Can't answer that question why the officer didn't make that stop on that, but I'll reinforce it.
What's going to happen to the bicycle people? As a matter of fact, I just came through town right now, and there's one that ran the four-way stop sign right there.
Okay, yeah. Without talking to the officer, find out why he didn't. Like I said, I can't answer that question, but I'll reinforce that they need to enforce that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I also have one question for Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, I received a letter from some individuals from Tyrone, and I would like to see if you can explain to them if it's possible or not possible to be included in the town of Silver City.
To be annexed into the...
To be annexed in the town of Silver City.
That would be a very, very large annex. To annex all the way out there, it would probably almost triple the size of the town of Silver City. But there's a lot of cost-benefit analysis that has to be done. How much revenue that would be generated primarily from property tax in Tyrone, because I don't know of any businesses in Tyrone. And then we would have to see how much it would cost the town to maintain streets, provide additional police and fire. There's a whole lot of cost-benefit analysis that has to be done. And then that would be something that has to go to the council would have to spearhead. But if they chose, I can go into it with them at any time if they want to make an appointment to meet with me.
Okay, so it's okay if I ask some of the individuals that wrote the letter to make a meeting with you, or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll explain what we would have to go through.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilor Amos Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to start off by thanking the Daily Press for a well-written article yesterday on how the New Mexico DOT's recommendations and findings on their last audit of Correcaminos will affect the Correcaminos schedules and routes. If you are wondering about what's going on, that would be a really good source to read, would be the letter, an entire large article written by Christine Steele in the Daily Press. You know, last week I went to see a movie at the Silco. It was called An Inconvenient Sequel, and I had a number of folks come and talk with me about it afterwards. And I prepared just a few comments. I'm hoping that I'm not going to take too long here. One of the questions that was asked was, well, gee, why isn't Silver City going to be mandating 100% renewable energy. So let me just say, as awesome as that sounds, and as awesome as it would be, if all the electricity customers in Silver City could easily source from renewables, there are big differences between Georgetown, Texas, and Silver City, New Mexico. Georgetown, Texas was the town that was highlighted in the film. First, I want to draw your attention to the fact that there are 28 million people in Texas, and there are 2 million people in New Mexico. And even though Texas is large as a state, there are 30 cities in Texas with populations over 100,000. Houston alone has more people than the whole state of New Mexico. And that just means there's a whole other energy economy in Texas. We need to keep that in mind. As well, the energy market in Texas is deregulated. Now that means that there are scores of competing energy providers. There's upsides and downsides to regulation and non-regulation, but that does mean that finding an electricity provider who can source singly from renewables is much easier in Texas. In the city of Austin, there are over 50 energy companies, and many of those claim to source all of their energy from renewables, mostly wind. So if you have questions about how that works in Georgetown, Texas, go look on their website. They've got an entire series of pages of frequently asked questions about how they moved their own utility to using renewables, because Georgetown actually owns its own version of utility. So they source power from power companies and then resell it to their residents. And they did that move as a financial move. So they weren't so much interested in sustainability, which we are here in the town. They were interested in more in finances. And did you know that Texas has its own grid? It has its own power grid. And you know, New Mexico's not even tied to Texas's power grid. It's its own. And that power grid is actually membership owned. So municipalities that own utilities and utility bundlers and utility companies, they have a membership, and it's mandated by a board of governors that responds to the membership. So it makes the grid and the providing of electricity between Texas and New Mexico really different. Now, one of the things that we do know is that in the last month, the city of Santa Fe passed a resolution to develop a research study to say what would it take to move Santa Fe towards 100% renewables by 2030. And that is really worth keeping tabs on. Santa Fe is a much bigger municipality. It has a lot more money. And we know that they're going to be doing that study, and we will be asking them, what are you finding out? So I just wanted to make some comments here to answer the question that about 20 people have asked me already, so that not only can you hear it, my colleagues hear it, but people who will be watching CATS could hear it. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Benison?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let folks know that I was out all last week. I was at a conference for University Museums and Collections, an international conference, but I did get home, finally, after a long series of flights, and I was able to go last night to WNMU Student Life, and students did a wonderful and beautiful ceremony for the September 11th memorial at the WNMU campus at Old James Stadium. And I really truly appreciated everyone who spoke, whether they spoke from the heart in terms of where they were when it happened, to reading their own poetry out to the crowd. And I want to say a big thank you to the Vietnam veterans. Number 358 Color Guard. I did the number right, correct? Okay. Yeah. They were magnificent. They just did an excellent job, and was well received by all the folks that were there. So just keep your eyes tuned and look for things that are happening at WNMU and across Silver City and in Grant County, because we have all sorts of things on almost every day. And this was a wonderful one to be able to attend, to be there with other people and and think back to that day and to remember what happened. So, thank you.
Councilor Kano?
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I have is that myself and Councilor Ray just recently attended the first meeting of the Territorial Charter Day Committee, and it was a very, very good meeting. There was a good broad section of the community involved, and we have a lot of really great ideas. So now the fun part is deciding which ones we can pull off by February and which ones we'll have to wait till it gets a little bigger. So we'll continue to meet and update you as we go along. Thank you.
Any other council comments? Okay, very good. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the August 22, 2017 regular meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilwoman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting of the town of Silver City of August 22nd, 2017.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Betzler?
I second the motion as stated.
Any discussion?
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, nay. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public input. I'd like to make a few comments first. When I looked at the sign-up sheet, I saw that a fairly large number of people had signed up to speak on what looked like a similar topic, change of holiday, indigenous people holiday. So by the number of people that signed up, I realized that there was going to be a problem in terms of what my job as mayor is. And one of my jobs as mayor in conducting this meeting is to make sure that we follow the town council ordinances, that we don't violate those. And let me just take a couple of quick minutes and bring a few things to your attention and to explain why I did what I did. This ordinance is resolution number 2015-16. And I'll just read you a couple of things that pertain to this. One of the statements is that the public input segment of the regular meeting of the town council shall be limited to 20 minutes. Okay, then the other statement I'd like to read is each individuals may not speak on an issue they have spoken out on a town council meeting with the preceding 30 days. So in realizing that by the number of people that came, and by the way, the length of time is limited to 5 minutes. By the number of people here multiplied by 5 minutes, it was going to go way beyond the 20 minutes. So what I did was talk to those who were here on that issue, and by a show of hands, how many are here to speak on this issue of the holiday change? So I can see by the large number of hands that this is an issue that's very near and dear to your hearts, to take the time out of your schedule to come here tonight. And so what I did was ask just those that were sitting in the group if they would pick out 3 individuals who could represent their views as clearly as possible. And so I think you've done that. So would the first person that was picked out please come up and identify yourself?
I'm Athena Wolf, and I thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members, for allowing us to speak to you this evening. I'm here to ask City Council to officially declare that we do not any longer celebrate Columbus Day. There's a wave of millions of people in the United States who have realized that celebrating the life of the self-admitted rapist, slave trader, and genocidal murderer Christopher Columbus does not demonstrate good ethics. What's more, Columbus never set foot on this continent. The torture, pillage, and murder he carried out was in the Caribbean, particularly the islands of Cuba and Hispaniola, before returning to Spain. Over the course of 3 more voyages, he visited the Greater and Lesser Antilles as well as the Caribbean, which he claimed for the Crown of Castile. The Los Angeles City Council voted in August, a couple weeks ago, to officially mark the second Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples' Day. The day will remain a paid holiday for city employees. Wisconsin, back in 2007, instituted Indigenous Peoples' Day, doing away with Columbus Day entirely. In 1992, Berkeley, California, decided to celebrate Indigenous Peoples' Day instead of Columbus Day. In South Dakota, the entire state, 27 years ago, renamed Columbus Day as Native American Day. Hawaii, Alaska, Oregon, and Vermont do not recognize Columbus Day at all. Columbus Day is a relatively new holiday that was passed into law in some states in 1937. In Maryland, Columbus Day didn't become a national holiday until 1971. So up until that time, up until these recent times, the enslavement, theft of land of a specific cultural group was not considered to be a cause for a holiday. Columbus's voyages of ineptitude and poor navigation weren't officially recognized in 1937, nor did anyone even think to celebrate his barbaric, inhumane acts until then. So I ask you, instead of continuing with festivals that engender fear, aggression, oppression, we can heal our society and ourselves by choosing to honor people and celebrations that manifest respect for all people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Saenz, and I'm here to speak on the Columbus holiday change. I guess the best way to address this is to stress upon you that you have the opportunity to change things here. The history that has happened to Native people regarding Columbus is just atrocious. Whole cultures were changed, whole cultures were killed, and we need to do something different. What we have here in Silver City is this opportunity with the change in cultures that is happening here. We now have 3 Apache organizations that are in the area. This town celebrates the Cliff Dwellings, which is a group of Native people that pass through here. And this is something that we cannot ignore any longer. The misrepresentation of what Columbus did here, even the naming, that everybody thinks that Columbus came up with the name of Indians, is not true. If anything, it was Americo Vespucci which identified that name. Columbus was not looking for India. India was not India at that time. At that time, during those travels, it was India was known as Hindustani, and it did not become India until the British colonized it. So back in that time, it was only a Latin-based language that was out in the ocean. And so when Columbus met the people, I believe the Taino in the Caribbean, he described them to Americo Vespucci as Corpas en Dios. And that's where the name came from. If you go to anywhere in Mexico, you go to South America, they call Native people there Indios, because that name came from the bastardized word en Dios. And so we believe that even Columbus himself sort of set a standard of what these Native people were like. Unfortunately, he did not follow through on that honoring. And as I look through your mission statement, that word again is there, honor. And so we'd like you to consider promoting this effort to honor the millions of people that have been displaced, that have been under genocidal conditions, have been killed off. And this is our time to do this. And we stress upon you that please consider this because we are serious about this, and we would like to push this effort to make this a change to Indigenous Day. This town revolves around it, and it's going to only increase with the input and the involvement by Native people in this area. Apaches were run out of here. Well, we're back. You know, we're back now. We have several groups in the area. We believe that our numbers have increased significantly, and there is a large number of Apache people returning to this area. And the best way to make this town open arms to these Native people is to take these small steps that will increase in value, that will increase in attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, councilors and mayor. My name is Weddy Cami Lopez. I'm a resident of Silver City. Formally introduce myself. I am a Cahuilla native from Southern California, the desert, and what the Spaniards called the Mission Indians, but we don't refer to ourselves as that. I am a Cahuilla individual, which means the masterful ones. They call us the Luiseños, or they call us the Agua Caliente tribe from Palm Springs, California. I'm the grandson of the last traditional bird singer from that tribe. And we are carrying on my grandfather's traditions and teachings and that way of life. I come before you as a living, breathing, in the flesh, as people would call Indian. And the reason why I say that is because we often think of, or we are taught to think of our people as people that have passed on, that are no longer here. And it's easy to think of us in that way, because of the way that the history has been promoted and taught from little kids all the way up into adulthood, all the way from TV into the institutions, and then also celebrating people who invaded and occupied our lands, like Columbus, like Cortez, like all the other Spaniards who came up north into this area and occupied the Pueblo lands and Mexican lands. And so when we promote that history, we honor that history, when we elevate it and we give it a platform, then we're doing nothing more than breathing life into that negative history that affected the largest genocide in the history of humanity, to the tune of 100 million of my people were killed at the point of contact with Europeans, and then 500 years later up to now. And we can say that because if you look at the native populations in the country, we have the highest rates of suicide, homelessness, drug addiction, dropouts, deaths, and our people suffer, and that is a direct result of genocide. It's something that in our communities we call intergenerational trauma. It's trauma passed on through generations. And we're not talking about ancient history here. My great-grandmother was taken from her mother and father and put in a boarding school. And she was sent to the Sherman Indian Institute in California, and they made her cut her hair, punished her for speaking her language, changed her name, didn't allow her to see her mother and father. She suffered abuses at the hands of the administration in those schools. And then, of course, my grandmother and my mother were born. And we were raised in the cities. We lost our language, our culture, our traditions. That's coming back through me now with my children. I'm a sun dancer. I practice our ceremonies and our traditions, our language in my home. We are reviving that, and we are reviving the consciousness of resistance and honoring our traditions and our people and our ancestral heritage in our home and in our practice in our daily life. So giving you that personal experience, I would hope that you would see that you're in good company if you were to decide to adopt a resolution to adopt Indigenous Peoples Day and placement of Columbus Day in our town. And then maybe our county and maybe the state of New Mexico. Albuquerque only last year did that, the city of Albuquerque. Los Angeles just in August. And you're in really good company throughout the country, and there's a wave of movement happening where Indigenous people are saying, we are here, we no longer live in the past, we are just like anybody else, but we want to honor and represent our history, and we come before these boards, these governing boards, to ask you to join us in solidarity and to honor that history. I know that you guys do. I know that every individual does here, because I've seen you at powwows, I've seen you at the museums, I've seen you working hard to preserve our history and our heritage and our culture, to take that and teach a good way to our kids to know that we're something of the past, that we're here and we're living, breathing flesh individuals. And like my brother Joe said, Joe Sines said, wouldn't it be better to honor the people who Europeans encountered and harmed than to honor the violence and the invasion and the occupation through the life of an individual who's been given God's status as Columbus, such as Columbus. So down the line here in the future, in the next couple of meetings, we hope to continue to try to influence you to join us in this movement, and we thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. When I said we could pick 3 people, I was assuming 5 minutes each, and you're really gone much shorter than that. So I'll give one more person a chance to speak on this topic.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm from the Northeast. My dad was Cherokee, Scots-Irish. My mom was Portuguese, also African-American in there. When my family got together, it was the League of Nations. I've been on the road since 1960. I'm a veteran, 4-year veteran, United States Navy, Vietnam. My father's people, Native American, have fought in every war that we have ever had, beginning with the colonies. When we were overseas, we were treated as equal human beings with civil respect. Coming home to our own lands, these are the First Nations. They've been here 20, 30,000 years. Come home to their own land and be treated as third rate, not second. My African-American brothers and sisters were treated second rate. We were treated third rate. I grew up with this in my family. I saw the pain that it caused. And that was just my generation. But being on the road for so many years, and I'm 72 now, and I'm just starting to retire. Not completely, that's why I'm here tonight. We need to recognize our histories, exactly what they were. None of us are perfect, we're human beings. I don't believe in manifest destiny. I don't believe in the greed, and that's the bottom line. It's always been greed, to displace a smaller group of people, or a group, a large group of people, for a matter of a dollar. And that's the bottom line. And on my father's side, my Cherokee relations, and I look at all my people, all the people of the earth, as God's children, we are one people. And when we start acting as one people, we walk our talk. I noticed a mission statement tonight for the town. I would like to see that in action and accept that we take a man who went to sea I was a navigator 4 years in the Navy. He wasn't a very good navigator at all. He accidentally he was going to India, and he bumped into the Caribbean. And we've turned him into a national hero. And he was responsible for the enslaving and murdering, genocide of our people. And I would like us to start in one little way by recognizing the First Nations here, our brothers and sisters of the First Nations here, and displace Columbus Day with a true indigenous recognition of the indigenous peoples of this land. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on the input list was Malin Spee.
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, council members. I live here in Silver City, and for the past 8 months, I have taken care of a long-time resident, and allegations have been made against me, and basically that I would abuse this older person. And ever since then, all interactions that I have had with the Silver City Police Department have been really terrible. On July 20th, the motorhome that belongs to myself and my friend, this 88-year-old male, was towed from my property with assistance of the Silver City Police Department by an individual who definitely did not have our permission. When we tried to file a police report, we were told it was a civil matter. On August 8th, I took a bath, and I was in my own living room in my home when a police officer walked in through my front door, through my vestibule, into my living room, so about 15 feet at least, where I was naked. And when I asked the officer what he was doing in my living room, he stated that the front door was open. And he asked me where Roland Stone was. This is my 88-year-old friend. I tried to address, and I mean, these are just 2 examples. There have been quite a few more. I've tried to take this up with Chief Reynolds, and he has not been responsive in any way. I have emailed the town manager, Mr. Brown, and he said he would get back to me, and then never did. When I emailed again, I did not get a response, and when I went to his secretary and set up an appointment with him, his secretary called back to cancel the appointment, and she said that Mr. Brown will not see me for as long as there is an investigation against me. So, basically, an allegation was made, and ever since then, I have been only a suspect, but no longer a citizen, and my rights are gone. And it doesn't matter kind of where I turn, the response is, you're under investigation. I wanted to put that here. I emailed my district councilwoman, but I would really like to know basically what I can do about it. Basically, I don't feel safe anymore from the Silver City Police Department.
Thank you. Next on the list is Arlen, I can't read all those letters, but Lazary?
It's Arlen. Arlen Lazier. I originally came to speak to Indigenous Peoples Day, but since the speaking was limited and I found out about the ordinance, I decided I would like to speak to public process. I realize that you all are unpaid public servants. I've sat where you all have sat in a previous state, so I understand. But I think there are ways to encourage public participation, which is, I think, what we want to do in a democracy. I don't think we want to limit it. So I'm suggesting that perhaps that ordinance could be revisited. I haven't come to many meetings. I especially came to this one. I'm glad I didn't spend the time preparing remarks, because then I wouldn't have been able to give them. So other ways that can be handled is limiting to 3 minutes, asking your citizens, we have a lot of people here, please don't repeat what has been said. We would appreciate that. But I think the ordinance, the way it's written, from what you've said, Mr. Mayor, limits rather than encourages public participation. And so I think it needs to be changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that is all those who signed up for public input. Next on the agenda is reports. Mr. Brown?
Mayor and Council, the only thing that I have is that we received notification that the fiscal 2018 budget has been approved by DFA, and it's required that I report it in public so that it's included in the meeting minutes. And with that, Jamie is going to discuss the comprehensive plan, give an introduction so we can move through the process.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the end of a year-long process and the beginning of a new 10-year process. Last year, we started in August. We mailed a notification letter of our district meetings to every property owner that owned property within the town of Silver City by district. So each of you attended your district meeting, and that was our kickoff to explain what the comprehensive plan is, how people can be involved, and what would be entailed in the next year. During that time, staff also reviewed state requirements, because some things are mandated to be in the plan by the state. We also found resources from the American Planning Association, which gives plan writing outline. Before this, the 2004 comprehensive plan was done by a consultant firm, so this was first stab at doing it in-house with our own staff. We explained all of the categories at these district meetings, and everybody had some fake money that they could spend on the categories that were most important to them, and that information is in an appendix in the back of the plan. Fall 2016, we held meetings on each individual chapter so that people could come if they were only interested in transportation or if they were only interested in other items. Nancy Gordon did a ton of background work. She made a comprehensive list of our town plans and summarized each of them. So we now have that resource in our department so that people could come in and ask if something's covered in a plan. It's much more of a relatable index. Nancy Gordon and Nancy Cliff both served as editors for the departmental changes, the previous document, and the current draft. We also had the department heads start reviewing the chapters that involve their departments. So, for instance, the fire department reviewed theirs, police department reviewed theirs. I reviewed the land use chapter as the community development director. With the help of Linda Avon-Smith, we used SurveyMonkey for the first time. We were actually able to get an accurate data sample from paper and online surveys. So we had them in paper at the library, community development, and the utilities department, and we had them online on our Facebook page, which is new to the town. The community development department now has their own Facebook page, and we also put them on the town website. So people had an opportunity to fill them out in person or online. We also formed the steering committee, and Sissy McAndrew is here from our steering committee. We had members from Southwest Council of Governments, Citizens, Gila National Forest, GRIP, local realtors, Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities, Grant County staff, Grant County commissioners, Main Street, the Green and Regular Chamber of Commerce, Western New Mexico University, and Freeport-McMoRan. The steering committee then reviewed all the department head information. Priscilla in our office updated all the data in the document, so she was able to use current census data. All that's now available for planners and the general public online. So that was a huge resource that we didn't have in the past. Summer of 2017, the draft went to the Planning and Zoning Commission on August 1st. It was going to be in July, but the chair had surgery, so we were a little bit behind in that process. They then suggested edits, and then we put that draft on the Facebook page and the town website and had it available in our office for a month. The current draft that you've received in your packet was recommended for approval September 5th, 2017 at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. That draft is now online and available in our office. Another interesting fact is that Mr. Brown gave my experiment a budget of $10,000, and I can tell you that as of today, we've spent $2,851.42. And most of that was printing. Printing is expensive. So I would like to thank you to the council, the manager, the assistant manager, residents who attended the meetings, the steering committee, Christine Logan from the New Mexico Economic Development Department provided a lot of our housing data and those sort of resources. Priscilla Arredondo in my office, I would be helpless without her. She is the map guru and the information guru. All of the department heads were super helpful. The library director, who is now gone, but she provided us their library plan. So without all of those and the council and planning and zoning commission, this document would not be possible. So I would really like to highlight that this is a community effort and that it seems to be going well, and that it's definitely a new step forward for our planning work in the town of Silver City. So the next steps is when you're satisfied with the document, Mr. Scavron has a resolution that he'll prepare for you to pass with whatever edits or corrections you'd like. We'd like to start updating the data annually because it's so easy these days. You just look it up and the new numbers are there. And we'd like to revise it every 5 years and then do this big process every 10 years. I've documented the whole process in my office for future planning staff, other towns, whoever would like to use it. We've documented successes, failures, what was a good idea, what didn't really get much attention. And so we have that also that we can share with other towns or future planning staff. I'd like to also read you a quote. And I think this is the direction that the mayor and council were heading when we started reviewing all the plans that the town has. And this is out of the Practice of Local Government Planning, 3rd edition. It's called the Planning Green Bible, is what the planning profession calls it. When we produce plan documents, we expect people to read them and use the advice to inform and influence their own judgments about the allocation of public resources, the use of property, and so forth. Implicit in such sincere and often urgent effort is the belief that planning will improve the quality of the judgments and that these improvements will produce more effective consequences from the use of resources, property, or whatever. If we did not expect plans to make a useful difference, why would we make them? And I think together that's what we've created. We've become the experts on our community, and I think we have a usable document that we can edit and keep going forward with. With that, any questions?
Councilwoman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Embett, for that thorough explanation of the process. I'm really sorry that Ms. Arlen Lazier left because you just outlined a remarkable, long, inclusive process for public engagement and something that's actually going to be used in the town. So I just want to thank you for outlining that and for being the champion of it. I do have a couple of questions. One of the ones is that as part of preparing this plan, of course you worked with the one that was done back in 2004. What did you see as some real major accomplishments since 2004?
Well, we have this conversation a lot. The town is really good at getting work done. We're not really good at saying that we've done the work. So the bicycle master plan has been completed. The radial read meters have saved a lot of water. The solar installation was done at the sewer plant. Miles of sidewalk have been completed, roads have been upgraded. Little Walnut Road is better. Most of the fire departments now has an ISO of 4.
And what effect does that have on
So
us?
that's good. So that can actually affect your homeowner's insurance.
Yes.
And it also, it's a safety rating, so it has, Chief Lambert can explain that to you better in his report, but it's, the lower the number, the better. So we've gone down 1. Our police department is now doing community policing. They're having a bike patrol. Trying to think, the museum has a lot of new exhibits. They're working on new things all the time. The library has completed their plan for the master plan. I always forget important departments.
What about the ICIP?
Oh, yes, that process was revised.
One of my favorites.
That was revised, and then lately the state has gotten so picky about that, it's kind of, you have to do the formula, but that public input process was implemented. And I think Mr. Brown is very interested in transparency and public input, and I think this is a step forward so that people can have some buy-in in what we do. My goal in our department is to reduce the us and them.
Yeah.
We are public servants. Come talk to us. Let's answer your questions, see what we can do. So I think this is a huge step forward.
So you just pointed out another really valuable way for public engagement, which is, you demonstrated going to these kinds of collaborative meetings, reading the plans, giving feedback is useful, but people can just come talk to you.
Yes.
And find out what is going on.
Yes. If I'm in the office, it's a very rare day that I don't have time to meet with someone.
Right. So I think that was all I had to ask. Thank you.
Councilor Benson?
I just wanted to say thank you because with all the years I've been on the council, I think most people know one of my pet peeves is the fact that we don't create our own plans. It's not created by Silver City, for Silver City, meaning it's not created by the citizens for what they want. It's always done by an outside firm that is using a template in many cases to fill in what's ultimately going to be the plan, so that sometimes the town's name of the last town that they did the template for is in there and not our town. So sometimes it doesn't reflect Silver City's needs and desires as we change. And I think I'm very pleased with this process. I'm glad we have a little bit to kind of sit and read it, and if there's any other public input, I'm sure that it'll be well received. I like what you've talked about in terms of revisiting and updating the numbers every year or as necessary, and then also, kind of going through and looking at it at 5 years and then a big process at 10 years. I think that's something that we've not done, and now that we are doing it, I think it'll make it just seem like it's normal business.
Yes.
That it's not us and them, but we're here to serve the public, and so let's see what we can do together to make Silver City what we all want it to be. So thank you very much for spearheading this, and thank you to the town manager and everyone for what they've done and all the citizens. So.
Saved us money.
Yes, saved us big money, thank you.
Not just in the dollars that she saved by them doing the plan. Their department is half the size it was 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got a lot less staff that actually did a lot more work and it's completed a lot. So, I mean, that's got to be commended as well. So,
Definitely.
and a better product as well.
Very
fewer people. So, I would recommend Jamie and Priscilla for what you guys did.
I just wanted to thank you and your staff and the committee for working so hard on this. I just wanted to ask if we have changes or grammatical stuff or anything, what's the best way to, should I email it to you? Or?
That's perfect. Anything that's not substantive, we can just do by email.
Okay.
Since we put the draft on for the Planning and Zoning Commission, I haven't had any more public comment. I think people are done. They've moved on to signs. So email's fine if it's just edits of that nature. And I think one of the things that I'd like to point out that we did put in here is accomplishments from the last plan, and so I'd like to update that every year too. Just to show that we are using it, it's a living document, it's a valid working product.
Any other questions? Mr. Brown, I think you have one more thing.
Jamie's going to do an update on the process, signs, and what we're going to do.
So, sign project. We have them up online and on our Facebook page, which is the Community Development Department on Facebook, and then townofsilvercity.org. You can vote that way. You can call me at 534-6349, or you can email me at jmbick, and it's EMBICK @silvercitymail.com. We'll also be having 2 public meetings, one in the afternoon tomorrow at 2 p.m. at our offices, which are at 1203 North Hudson. And then we will have one Tuesday the 19th at 6 p.m. at the same location, 1203 North Hudson. So what we've done is blown them all up. Priscilla the Wonderful, has blown them all up to be the same size so that people can see a large illustration. If the things online are too small, they can come in and vote. And we're just doing it open house style, so say from 2 to 4 tomorrow you can come by and vote.
Any questions? Councilor Connor?
I have a question. A few people have asked me, they're looking at the pictures online and they're wondering if one wins, if that's specifically what's going to happen, or if they can be edited.
So I think the mayor may have comments on that, but they'll all have to be created and designed to highway standards. So they will all have to be changed somewhat, but I think the mayor can give you more of the process he was wanting to follow.
The concern that I've been receiving is that many of them are not grammatically correct.
Yes, so all of that can be edited, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So what this design was for was a concept. They all have to be structurally engineered to be safe on the highway. So, and grammatically correct.
Any other questions? Thank you, and I want to thank the news media too for promoting the sign project. It was a nice spread in the newspaper today, I think, right? I think it was today, yeah. And the other media for publishing those photos.
Yes.
So it's now in the process, and I can't wait.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Brown? No, sir. Okay. Councilor Henderson?
I'm going for a short break.
Okay, a motion for a short break. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion.
In favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll take a short break. Call the meeting back to order. The next item on the agenda is unfinished business. The first item under unfinished business is 10A, the approval/disapproval of ordinance number 1261, an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Animals, Article 2, Administration and Enforcement, Section 6-34, Authority of Town Manager and Animal Control Officer, and Section 6-187, Restraining and Confinement of Animals, of the Municipal Code of the Town of Silver City. Councilor Bedeston is the sponsor of this ordinance, and so I'll turn some time over to her.
Thank you, Mayor. So the purpose of this ordinance is to enable our officers and our animal control officer that if an animal has been locked in a car, in a car during hot weather, and the animal is showing signs of, let's just say, heat exhaustion and in potentially a death, it's more about how the animal is reacting, because animals can't open the doors of locked cars, they can't bring a window down. So this will allow our officers and our animal control officer if they cannot find the car's owner to take matters if it meets a certain criteria, which is the owner is not immediately available, the vehicle's windows are partially or completely closed, and there exists weather conditions creating a likelihood that the interior temperature of the vehicle constitutes an immediate danger of severe harm or death to the animal so confined, and the animal control officer views the animal in distress and in need of rescue, that they will not be held liable for breaking into the vehicle in order to rescue the animal. It also enables the animal control officer to call a veterinarian to establish the condition of the animal, and if the veterinarian so believes that the animal cannot be saved, that the animal can be euthanized. So I know that the chief it was requested by the animal control officer and by his officers to do this, to be able to not be liable for damages to a car in order to rescue an animal in a hot car. So it does talk a lot about dogs, but it's animals. It doesn't matter if it's a cat or if it's a dog. I mean, it's the same thing that we would want to make sure happens when there's a child in distress in a locked vehicle during hot weather. But I think, Chief, you also mentioned that there may be other repercussions, not just the fact that the animal control officer or officers had to get into the vehicle, but that there's other things that the owner could be cited for.
Yes, Mayor, City Council, as I mentioned previously, there could be ramifications, criminal charges filed for animal abuse, depending on the severity. It could be a felony, up to a felony. So each one will be investigated to determine what level of violation happened.
And Chief, that's under state law? Or
Yes, under state.
Thank you, Chief. So with that, I don't know if there's any questions from anyone, Mayor.
Any questions for Council Benson?
I have a question for Chief, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine.
In this animal thing that Council Benson is trying to do, does this include animals that are on the back of the truck that are not?
No, it's enclosed only.
As I understand the ordinance and read through it, no, it does not. Specifically, if there is, and I'll use an example, a vehicle's going down the roadway, it's driving at a fairly decent speed, the dog's up on some type of platform in the back, dog falls off, there conceivably could be a criminal charge related to that under state statute. So this one specifically is for the purpose of animals in a vehicle that are enclosed. The adverse weather is adversely affecting them. Therefore, it allows the officer or the animal control officer to take some type of action.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor?
I just want to clarify one more thing.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, with the chief here, we did have the animal control officer at the meeting when this was an NOI, and I want to make sure people understand, this is for during hot weather. It's not during the cold, because during cold weather, the car actually serves as a shelter, whereas just in hot weather, it serves as a potential death sentence to the animal, just like with children that are locked in a car without air or any attendance to them.
Right.
So, thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Benson, are you ready to make a
I am.
motion?
I move to approve of ordinance number 1261, an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Animals, Article 2, Administration and Enforcement, Section 6-34, Authority of Town Manager and Animal Control Officer, and Section 6-187, Restraining and Confinement of Animals of the Municipal Code of the Town of Silver City.
You have a motion, is there a second? Councilor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. I second that as read.
Motion second, any discussion? Any comments from the general public? Roll call, please, Yolanda.
Councilor Edison?
Aye.
Councilor Amon Smith?
Aye.
Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Kano?
Motion carries unanimously. As a matter of information, this ordinance will become effective on Wednesday, September the 20th. Next is item 10B, under unfinished business, the approval/disapproval of ordinance number 1262, an ordinance amending Chapter 10, Article 2, Business Registration, Section 10-23 of the Municipal Code of the Town of Silver City, and Councilor Amon Smith is the sponsor of this ordinance, so I'll turn the time over to her.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is hopefully the final cleanup of a large process change to try to make the process for obtaining business license/registration easier on people who are looking to start business here in Silver City. With all of the combining, changing, trying to make it simpler, we made an error in the first time that we went through this and did not include that there was going to be a fee schedule. Rather, we just said there would be a fee and we named it a number. So this is a simple change, but important, and hopefully this empowers the Community Development Department, business folks, and the folks who are seeking businesses and the Small Business Development Center to really work together to make it an easier process for all of our citizens.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion?
I am ready to make a motion.
Please proceed.
Okay, I move to approve ordinance number 1262, an ordinance amending Chapter 10, Article 2, parentheses, Business Registration, parentheses, Section 10-23 of the Municipal Code of the Town of Silver City.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second? Councilor Edison?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
Motion and second made. Any discussion? Any comments from the general public? Roll call, please, Yolanda.
Councilor Amon Smith?
Aye.
Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Kano?
Aye.
Councilor Edison?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Also, this ordinance will take effect next Wednesday, September 20th.
Thank you.
As well. Next on the agenda is new business. The first item on the new business is approval/disapproval of the fire department's fee schedule. Chief Lambert?
Mayor, council members, thanks for hearing me out tonight. The fee schedule adopted by the Silver City Fire Department has been in existence for the entirety of my career. We have revised it to more adequately represent the amount of work and knowledge required to perform work on commercial properties, and to do that, we actually simplified quite a bit of the language. And then we changed, the only change besides simplification of language is the inspection fee schedule. So inspections and their related fees have been broken into ranges based on square footage of the commercial property. This allows for fair pricing for smaller businesses, as well as larger businesses that are directly proportionate to the amount of work and manpower required to perform these inspections. It also reflects the amount of preparation and requisite knowledge we will have to have the inspectors informed of. So the square footage categories are not just a random number. They also are a representation of the technical increases required by our existing fire code. So your average business between 1,500 and 5,000 square feet has specific requirements, and beyond that, they have additional requirements that take more time to verify, and they take more expertise and knowledge. So we're asking that you approve our fee schedule so that we can move forward. The rest of the fee schedule stayed in place as before, and we simply clarified some really wordy language and made it much more understandable for a member of the public or the community.
Any questions for Chief Lyman? Thank you. Do I hear a motion? Councilor Cunningham.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve of the fire department's fee schedule.
Is there a second? Councilor Lehman Smith.
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
Motion second. Any discussion?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, any comments from the general public? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next item on the new business is the approval/disapproval of a special dispenser permit application for the 2017 Rotary Benefit Auction to be held on Saturday, October 7, 2017, with alcohol services from 4 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Grant County Veterans Memorial Business and Conference Center, 3031 Highway 180 East, Silver City, New Mexico. Liquor license holder information, WNN Enterprises Incorporated, DBA Snappy Mart number 204, liquor license number 0151, Post Office Box 559, Silver City, New Mexico 88062. And I think Sonny Kellerman will be making the presentation.
Yes, that's me. I don't know how to do this. Does that work? Yes. Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you so much for having me. My name is Sonny Kellerman. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Silver City and the event manager for our 2017 Rotary Benefit Auction. This is Rotary's signature fundraising event. We do it triennially, sometimes biennially, but mostly every 3 years. And this year we will be benefiting LifeQuest, the Silver City Gospel Mission, and the Gila Valley Library Children's Section. I'm here to request the approval of the council for our application for a special dispenser permit, which will be utilized during this event from 4 to 8:30. It will, as the agenda states, be on Saturday, October 7th, and at the Grant County Veterans Memorial Conference Center. We expect 200 to 250 people to attend this year's Rotary auction. We are charging $20 per person for tickets, and there will be a limited number of tickets available at the door. We'll be providing food at this event. Between 15 and 20 local restaurants and food servers will be participating with us, offering tastes of signature dishes, a sort of group buffet of hors d'oeuvres, if you will. We will also have a non-alcoholic beverages available, bottled water and sodas, and we wanted to offer an alternative beverage option for the adults attending. Therefore, we've asked WNN Enterprises to serve as our beverage dispenser. They have agreed. We have arranged security through Chad Pavello. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, from the WNMU Academy. He's confirmed to provide security, and our intention is to put security personnel at both of the front doors to the conference center. I'd be happy to address any questions you might have, and I also have with me our club president, Joe Heydrich, who is suffering greatly from allergies and has been a hero to stick with us this long. So the two of us are available if you have any questions.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion? Councilor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve of a special dispenser permit application for the 2017 Rotary Benefit Auction to be held on Saturday, October 7th, 2017, with alcohol services from 4 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Grand County Veterans Memorial Business and Conference Center, 3031 Highway 180 East, Silver City, New Mexico. Liquor license holder information: WNN Enterprises, Inc., doing business as Snappy Mart, number 204, liquor license number 0151, P.O. Box 559, Silver City, New Mexico 88062.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilor Baisden?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
Okay, motion second. Any discussion?
No.
Any comments from the public? All in favor of the motion as read, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The last item on the agenda tonight is 11C, the approval/disapproval of two public celebration permit applications and waiver of NMSA 1978, Section 60-6B-10 for alcohol sales near a church for the American Planning Association's reception to be held on September 27, 2017, with alcohol service from 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Seed Boat Gallery, 214 West Yankee Street, Silver City, New Mexico. Liquor license holder information: 1, Little Toad Creek, LLC, DBA, Little Toad Creek Distillery, number 63013, 203 South Mill Road, Silver City, New Mexico, 88061. And 2, Little Toad Creek, LLC, DBA, Little Toad Creek Brewery, number 67085, 203 South Mill Road, Silver City, New Mexico, 88061. Would you please identify yourself and make your presentation?
Yes. Hello, Mayor and council members. My name is Melanie Zippin, and I am coordinating the event for the New Mexico chapter of the American Planning Association. They will be coming to town. This is the first time that they're doing a conference here, Wednesday, September 27th through the 29th. And on Wednesday, they will be hosting keynote speakers, including a welcome by the mayor, following by a reception at the Seed Boat Gallery, which will be open to the public in the walled courtyard. Security will be provided by the Toad, and we're asking them to serve beer, wine, and spirits at this event.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Crosley, thank you for being here tonight, answering any potential questions about your liquor license. Do I hear a motion?
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I think I have a comment on this one.
Comment for, you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question for Mr. Scavron.
Okay.
Mr. Scavron, I see in our packet that there was a letter from the church. Do we need to include that in any motion that we make?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Just wanted to check. Thank you.
Okay. Is that satisfactory, Councilman?
Yes, because he's going to have to do it.
Councilman Ray.
Okay, Mayor. I move to approve of two public celebration permits application and waiver of NMSA 1970 Section 60-6B-10 for alcohol sales near a church for the American Planning Association reception to be held on September 27, 2017, with alcohol services from 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Seed Boat Gallery, 214 West Yankee Street, Silver City, New Mexico. Liquor license holder information. Number 1, Little Toad Creek LLC, DBA Little Toad Creek Distillery, number 63013, 203 South Mill Road, Silver City, New Mexico 88061. And number 2, Little Toad Creek LLC, DBA Little Toad Creek Brewery, number 67085, 203 South Mill Road, Silver City, New Mexico, and there is a letter from the St. Vincent de Paul Catholic Church. You want me to read it?
No.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Smith?
Mr. Mayor, I will second that motion as stated.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No, sir.
Any comments from the general public? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. This concludes the business of the town of Silver City. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Smith?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilor Ray, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.